Hey, Bramburgh here with some Grand Tactician Civil War at the beginning of our Union campaign. The last episode just kind of went over the campaign starting policies, initial forces, finances, kind of the early strategy for what policies we would be taking early on, and kind of the initial first few months activities for our four armies, which in Missouri and in Western Virginia are pretty much static, staying where they are and doing some fort building. And then we're going to have a little bit of maneuvering in Virginia here in just a moment. Off camera, between episodes, I also got the Navy sorted out. And I think anyone who may have watched my earlier Union campaign, this will look very familiar. There are 6 seagoing blockading squadrons, one off Virginia, North Carolina, Charleston and Savannah down here, one here off of the Florida Panhandle, one off Louisiana, which is going to be covering both New Orleans, New Orleans and Mobile, and then one here off Texas, which will be covering Galveston and Sabine Pass. Somewhat surprisingly, you've got the port of Pensacola up here, and then there's this little innocuous port of Cedar Key. And believe it or not, this Cedar Key port usually winds up doing more trade than Pensacola does. I don't know if that's affected by Fort Pickens or not. But I'm going to have this squadron blockade Cedar Key. Initially, Cedar Key and, however this is pronounced, Apalachicola. Well, we'll keep an eye on that and may shift it down so that he's blocking Cedar Key and Tampa. Actually, just look at that now. Tampa's worth, like 10,000. And Appa something. They're about the same. It doesn't really matter which way. Those numbers will, in time, hasn't advanced yet, so the economy and the trade hasn't got a chance to even start working. We need to look at those a little bit later. Each one of these fleets starts with a mix of big ocean-going ships and little bitty steamers. The steamers being river capable, the big ships are not. I pulled all of the little river capable ships out of all these fleets, and it's quite a few of them, but these fleets can do the blockading job just fine with just the big ships. And instead I pulled all those back into the pool and created a whole bunch of little river squadrons. There's several over here that I'm building in Maryland and Virginia. We do have one Virginia port. A Rappahannock Squadron, a York Squadron. There's the Potomac Squadron, which actually is a campaign start. And then a Hampton Squadron. And the idea with these is they're going to go up these rivers in Virginia as far as they can. And these are not combat forces. I mean, they can do a little blockading. I doubt they add much. But they're not intended to go against forts. They're not intended to fight Confederate fleets. None of that. They're just 3, in a couple cases 4 little steamers, and they are insignificant in combat power. what they're going to do for us is provide eyes. You know, you get a little fleet here, a little fleet here, a little fleet here, hopefully at least one, maybe two little units here on the James, and they will improve our intelligence picture of what's happening in eastern and central Virginia. For the same purpose, I've created, and I give them geographic names here because I know exactly where I'm going to put them and park them for quite a while. Over here on the western rivers, the Mississippi, the Missouri, the Ohio, the Cumberland, the Tennessee, I've started building 6 similar little bitty scouting squadrons. I call them riverine squadrons, rivrons. In other campaigns, I've called them scoutrons. And it's the same thing. It's just like 3 little ships, not intended to do any kind of combat action. But if you can get these squadrons spread along these rivers, again, that helps with developing the overall intelligence picture on where the Confederate armies are and what they're doing. Obviously, they have to come close to that river for that to work, but yeah, that happens a lot. I have found it helpful in the past, and I think it's a good use for all of those little fourth-rate, third-rate steamers and gunboats and schooners and crap like that. And so there are 6 of these currently being, it'll take them a little while to get their ships and build readiness, but they're spread from St. Joseph on the Missouri River all the way over here to Louisville. And this is just where they're building. They'll move all around these rivers as the campaign unfolds, and I feel like I need eyes somewhere. But these will move around a lot more than those eastern ones will, and that's why I just have them numbered squadrons rather than geographic names for them. And that's basically how I intend to use the starting Navy. In the shipyards, we're using about half of our shipyard building capacity, and that is because I have 8 monitors, which are both sea and river capable, 8 sail frigates, and 8 steam frigates. So I've got a total of 24 pretty big ships building. So that's expensive and sucking up a lot of shipyard capacity, but this is going to provide a lot of combat power to our Navy. The frigates and steam frigates, quite a few of these will simply go to increase the size of our blockading fleets. About half of these probably. And the other half of these ships I may use as a fort bombardment force against coastal forts like Fort Norfolk and Fort Macon, places like that. And then the monitors are kind of not sure exactly what I'm going to do with those yet. But I'm going to need them somewhere. And they take a while to build, so I just got started on them. Actually, they only take about 4 months. We do know that at campaign start, kind of hard-coded, whether they have the tech for it or not, the Confederacy does start with the CSS Virginia, a casemate ironclad already building in Norfolk. It builds slow. It's not going to be ready until sometime during the late winter, like January or February of 1862, somewhere in that time frame. So we know that they're going to have at least one ironclad, and it is probably going to be right here. So by that time, I'm going to have more than one ironclad ready for it. And it may just be as simple as, in addition to the other large ships, I'll just reinforce, just build into the Virginia blockade squadron. I may just give them a couple of monitors. So, I think that covers the naval piece, not just for right now, but probably for the first several months of the war. And that brings us to Virginia. And so, toward the end of the last episode, I was kind of thinking out loud, do I just come straight across and attack this army? Which probably means attacking the Shenandoah Army too. Or do I try to use my Shenandoah Army to tie up the Confederates' Shenandoah Army first to prevent it from reinforcing, and thereby hit this army with McDowell's, and these guys don't get reinforced. But then if I try to do it that way, then it just, instead, Army of the Potomac will run over here and reinforce the Confederate Shenandoah instead, and it kind of works out the same either way. So I think what I'm going to do is McDowell's army is in the high yellow for readiness. I'm going to let him spend a week or so, tick up into the green, and then I'm just going to put him across the river and attack the Army of the Potomac. It will probably be reinforced by the Army of the Shenandoah, and that's fine. I'll just fight on both. When I do that, though, I am going to come across the river in defensive stance. And just kind of the way that I play this game, and anyone who's seen my previous campaigns, it's pretty apparent. I take it fairly slowly, fairly deliberately, and I try to do what I can to turn a tactical battle into a defensive situation for me. Because that's just kind of the way this game rewards that. And I think appropriately so, because I think pretty much the tactical history of this war would bear that out as being realistic. Not every single battle, but in most battles of this war, you ask which side won that battle, and 9 times out of 10, it was the army that was on the tactical level doing the defending. Usually came out ahead, or at very least averted what could have been disaster. Places like Fredericksburg, who was doing the attacking, the Union into a strong position. Gettysburg, who was doing the attacking, the Confederacy into a strong position. Even a battle like Antietam, which is largely considered like a draw, that should have been an overwhelming, it should have been and could have been an overwhelming Union victory. However, it wasn't. Who was doing the attacking? The Union, into a fairly strong position, maybe not quite like the others, over and over and over again. So for that reason, even when I'm advancing on the campaign map, pushing toward objectives, I'm trying to make the tactical battles defensive. And going in defensive stance plays into that. It doesn't mean that the game will give us a defensive situation every time, but I think more often than not. Okay, so let's get time rolling. Let our two armies build some readiness and see what the heck the Army of the Potomac is up to. They could even be coming over here. Shenandoah is moving too. They may be going across the mountains to attack McClellan. As the case may be, we've lost sight of them. Fighting going on somewhere. Right, so the James River Squadron has got both a bombardment of Fort Monroe going and apparently a naval battle with the Virginia blockade going at the same time. I don't think that's going to turn out that well for them. And while I don't see the icon on the fleet, I guess they're trying to blockade Hampton at the same time. Well, I don't think it's going to last long. They've got 6 ships. 6 ships with 27 guns against 7 with 90 guns. We'll see how that turns out. Actually, we can see the battle. Oh, right. I had transferred those little bitty ships to other places. We actually only have 2 ships in combat. But they're big with a lot of guns. I think we'll still come out ahead here. The best ship the Confederates have here. Well, 1 sunk, 2 sunk. I mean, they've got a third-rate. That's about the best they have. They have a second-rate steamer. That's the best they got. I think St. Lawrence and Roanoke are going to see them off with aplomb. Okay, that one's disabled. We should capture that one. Here in the early going, as these little Confederate fleets come try their luck against our blockaders, we'll probably capture a fair few little steamer-type ships, and that's actually a pretty good source. It's kind of superfluous for the Union to build any beyond the start, because you know, I expect to capture more than that. Is this battle still going? I guess. The bombardment is over with. Yeah, he's retreating. 2 ships sunk, 1 ship captured. And looks like he's retreating down to, is this still Confederate? Yeah. He's retreating down either to Elizabeth or to Morehead City. He did deplete the readiness of this blockading squadron just enough where it's not blockading anymore for the moment. Okay. But he'll be back up to snuff here pretty quick. McDowell's army is now green readiness, but we don't know where the heck, we don't know where those guys went. Well, we know where somebody went. Wheeling is currently being captured. Did we just have another naval battle? Ah, yeah. We just had a battle here off Charleston as well. Apparently successfully. I didn't even see the icon up here for that. Okay. So the decision here is, do we stop building the fort and run back up here and recapture Wheeling with McClellan's army? If we do that, we're probably going to lose Grafton the same way, rather than ping-pong back and forth. I mean, it will not be difficult to recapture this city. Kind of a short-term hiccup. Okay, here comes the Army of the North. Whoa. How did the Army of the Potomac slip all the way around there to Wheeling without being seen, though? That's a little strange. 19,000 men coming down the railroad right toward McClellan, who has 8,000 men. Well, I guess that's that very high aggressiveness that we set this campaign to. Okay, well, I am not going to fight a pitched battle against this force now, with this force. I just want to preserve it. So there will probably be contact made, but I'm just going to withdraw. However, I don't want McClellan retreating east into Maryland. I'm going to want him over on this side, on the Ohio side. So I am going to get him moving toward Marietta, Georgia now on rail. And it's going to take 3 hours game time for the order to even get there. Well, that'll play out however it plays out. Meanwhile, knowing that their large army is over here, I'm going to push this force up to Winchester. And it is tempting to march McDowell all the way down and take Richmond. I don't think there's a big Confederate force in his way. The biggest there could be is that Shenandoah army, which is probably not along here. If it wasn't for the fact that this army is made up of 3-month volunteers, half of whom are going to go away in a couple weeks, I would do that. But as it is, by the time he gets down here, that 32,000 man army is going to very quickly be a 16,000 man army of a bunch of pretty small brigades. So I do not know if I would be able to keep Richmond. And no, by the way, this is one of those cases where no, the Confederacy doesn't quite have the same problem. We have that 12-month or 1-year contract policy research, but all of our actual troops are the 3-month guys. The Confederacy, I don't think, has that. They start with 1-year troops already making up most or all of their forces. So here in a couple weeks, our armies are going to be about half the size that they are now, even if no combat occurs. Theirs are not. So, what I am going to do is move McDowell over here. No, I don't think so. That leaves Washington wide open. And we have one Confederate army currently not spotted in this area somewhere. Crap. Well, at least we're going to move up to Winchester. I'm feeling very McClellanish here. Okay, battle in the Gulf of Mexico. So they're trying their luck off of Galveston. How's this going? Yeah, I think we're going to be fine. It's another ship captured. Ship sunk. Okay. Oh, and these little Confederate ships we're capturing, we'll just plop them over into the pool. Let's see. Virginia. There's one here. The Patrick Henry. And Charleston. They didn't capture anybody. Was that Charleston or Carolina. Either way. Okay. How's Lyons doing on getting up to St. Louis? Here's those two forces. Let's see, 4,600 here, 4,600 here, so about 9,000 combined between these two. And Lyons has 5,600. So yeah, just head on back to St. Louis, build some forts. Well, he decided to build a supply depot instead. Maybe he's not intending to it. Well, as soon as he builds it, he'll attack, though. I'm going to move McClellan back, though. And then we just beat up some other little tramp steamer fleet. Captured another ship. This time off of Charleston again. Here's a little schooner that we've snapped up. What is this? Oh, that is Fort Monroe being repaired after the short bombardment they took. This force can go back to blockading. They've recovered enough readiness for that. Okay, Winchester is now being captured, and there's a supply depot being built right here. So that is where the Army of the Shenandoah is. And Army of the Potomac is on the train. Which would suggest they're on their way back toward Winchester. Okay, so let's get the Potomac Army here. And let's move him right on. We can't see him, but we see the supply depot being built. So here's where the Army of the Shenandoah is. And we'll go ahead and let's get them there quick. So use rail if you can. If you can't, force march. And then let's defeat this army quickly. Make it retreat. And then pop over into the valley before Beauregard gets to Patterson. Okay, there's an army building this supply depot. They don't get built any other way. We're close enough now. We should be seeing that army. Even with crap intelligence range. Maybe it's because it's at night. I don't know. Ah, there they are. Okay, Army of the Shenandoah is retreating. Apparently retreating forward. It's kind of irritating how they do that. And they're both converging on Patterson. And the links across the mountains and this river are a little funky. You can be pretty close, and it looks like it should be close enough to reinforce. That doesn't mean it is. And Patterson, with 18,000, is about to face 18 plus, is about to face 28. Looks like this is where the fight's going to happen. Run, McDowell, get close enough. Okay. Alright, let's go up and engage this army. This is the fight we were looking for. It's just happening at a little bit different spot. And there we go. We've got the Shenandoah and the Potomac Army together facing Beauregard. Neither side has any cavalry. And we've got slightly more guns. We will probably be in the attacking situation, though. Okay, I'm going to pop into the tactical map. Get the initial deployment done, the initial plan together. May do the initial maneuvering depending on what the situation is, and I'll cut back in whenever we've got the enemy in sight and combat is relatively imminent. Okay, so gave us the Winchester map, which makes perfect sense. That's where we are, at Winchester. And gave us a defensive situation with ownership of the objective point here. This is the Berryville Pike. And this is our deployment zone all the way around here. The Confederate entry point is here, coming along the Cedar Creek. That is a road, yeah. The Cedar Creek Road into Milltown, then Winchester. His obvious route is straight through here toward the objective point. This is like 99% the route that the Confederates will take. And so I have put up a defensive position right in front of it. Initially thought about defending right up here near the edge of our deployment zone in town. And I think that would have been fine. But looking at the terrain, I just kind of liked this higher ground over here with a nice field of fire for Doubleday's artillery. We just have the one battery, but it's a fairly big one. 16 guns, full size. And I did not have that many cannons in the armory, but I had a few, and Doubleday's got 12 pounders, not the default 6-pounder. Had plenty of points for some entrenchments. Matter of fact, I could build more, but this looked like enough. So I've got the battery in the center, looking down the road, plenty of high ground, trenches on either side, Kimes division on the right, Cadwalladers on the left, and then Sanford, they have 3 brigades apiece up here. Sanford has 2 brigades, Butterfield and Birney, and he's in a flex position right now. As the Confederates come up, the AI does often try to kind of load up on one side or the other. And so it could be either the left or right. Sanford will move toward wherever that looks like the Confederates want to concentrate their attack. Kind of an aside here, I've got David Birney in command of this brigade. After going on to at some length about those Second Corps commanders late in the war, Barlow, Gibbon, Birney, and Hancock, I don't normally go for trying to replicate historical chains of command and getting all the officers in the right theaters and all that sort of thing. I mean, the big names, of course, sort of, a little bit. But those are generally the best officers, and you want them in high-level command anyway. So, Grant always gets an army. Sherman always gets an army. In this case, though, since that thumbnail photo is kind of an ongoing theme with this campaign, at some point, somewhere in the eventual Army of the Potomac, I do want to create, Hancock in charge of the Corps and Gibbon, Birney, and Barlow as his division commanders. And Gibbon's already a pretty good officer because he's regular Army. So he's got pretty decent stats as it is. And so does Hancock, even at the beginning of the war. They're not quite at those ranks yet, but Birney and Barlow do not. One's a political and one's a volunteer, and so they're not very good at this point. So I went down and found them. I think one was a major and one was a lieutenant. And I went ahead and put them in brigade command now so that they can start building experience and eventually, hopefully, be worthy to be division commanders in that corps later in the campaign. And Birney is here. Barlow, Gibbon, and Hancock are all in command as well, but they're in the other army. They're in McDowell's army. So they will be entering soon because McDowell's army, the Potomac Army, is scheduled to arrive in 4 hours. So about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And this is kind of interesting here. Expected to arrive from the direction of Strasburg. Now, if we look on the map, there are 2 Union-controlled entry points. One is here, which is where Patterson's army spawned over here. And there's one up here on the Martinsburg Turnpike. Neither one of these are Strasburg. The Strasburg point is actually uncontrolled. Way down here in the southwest corner of the map. This is where McDowell will be coming from, a non-Union-controlled point. So there's an indication of something I have mentioned before, but we haven't actually seen. Reinforcing armies can be scheduled to arrive on the battlefield via uncontrolled points, not just the routes which are already controlled by their side at the beginning of the battle. Theoretically, a rebel unit could come down here and capture this point before McDowell enters the field. That would not prevent McDowell's army from entering the battle, but it would delay him because now he has to reroute to another available entry point. So that's an interesting little tidbit for the deployment stuff on these battles. And so basically what I think is going to happen is that Johnny Reb is going to come along this road, come up into Winchester, make contact with Patterson, and right about then McDowell's army, which is the larger one, is going to start arriving and march up, or rather down, the Valley Turnpike and come up in Beauregard's rear. But that will all take a little while to develop, so I'm going to fade back out here for a moment and do some of that maneuvering, the initial scouting and spotting, and we'll come back when the shooting's about to start. Okay, well, that didn't take very long. Here we are, not quite an hour in, and here come the first rebel brigades coming into view, marching through Winchester, and it already looks like Greg here, I think that's Greg, yeah, kind of left the roads and is marching straight across this field, so it's already kind of looking like they may tend to congregate over in this area for an attack on our left. So who is this? Cadwallader. This brigade under Hamilton, I've already told him to come over here and start working on some breastworks. I've ordered these two skirmisher units to reorient over here along this fence. Sanford's division in the rear, I've already got him moving over toward the left and being prepared to advance up to somewhere in this area. If he has time, I'll get him to build breastworks as well. I don't know if he will have that kind of time. And I've ordered the battalion rather, to reorient, just push out in this gap and then turn and face in this direction. One note about weaponry. I had a fair number of rifles in the armory available at campaign start. Not enough for all the soldiers and all four of the armies. But had enough where more than half of the soldiers in this army and McDowell's army do have rifles. Here in Patterson's army, I never know how to pronounce this guy's name, but these three brigades under Cadwallader have Springfields, and Sanford's two brigades have rifles as well, Springfields in both cases. Kime's division over here on the right, these brigades all have Springfield muskets, smooth bores, which have the same accuracy, range, and rate of fire as the default mixed muskets that all brigades always start with. The baseline. Springfield muskets, however, have two advantages over the mixed muskets. One, they come with a bayonet, so brigades equipped with Springfield. I used to live in an area where there was a nearby town called Smithfield in southeastern Virginia, and I lived there for a long time. So I still say Smithfield a lot when I mean Springfield, talking about these weapons. So Springfield musket-equipped troops are better in melee on those rare occasions when that occurs. But the other thing is, and it's not shown in game, Springfield muskets, while they may not be any more accurate, faster, or further firing than basic mixed muskets, they do have significantly higher damage when they do hit. So they are a higher firepower weapon as well. In fact, Springfield musket, not very far ranged, not accurate, and not fast firing, but when they do hit, the Springfield musket is actually the highest damage infantry small arm in the game, more than any other. Most of the default weapons have a kind of a baseline damage of 1. The Springfield musket is 1.2, and it's the only weapon that I could find in the manual that has a value higher than 1.0. Okay, enough of that. Let's get time rolling and see how this initial contact develops. I'll go a little bit faster for now. Hamilton's moving to start working on his breastwork. Hopefully the skirmishers kind of hold the Federals up enough for him to get at least partially done enough to provide a cover bonus. Our artillery's moving. They do have that little copse of trees kind of in the way. Johnny Reb is putting out some skirms. Got a little skirm battle going on here. Okay, let's slow it down. Sanford's in position. Let's move him up about to here. Skirms are in cover. The Confederate skirmishers are not. So this little picket skirmish here ought to wind up in our favor, and it'll keep the rebel brigades from advancing for now, giving our guys time to build some breastworks over here. I think the center of gravity of the battle is going to be over on this side, so I'm going to move Patterson just a little bit over this way. Okay, let's get Sanford's division working on some field works here. Just let this develop. First rebel artillery unit coming into view. Might be their only one. No, it said he had 28 guns. So there's probably another battalion somewhere. There comes James Longstreet, brigade commander at this point in the war. Some more skirmishers coming out. Hamilton's breastworks coming along there. And they kind of overlap a little bit right here by this tree. That's okay. How are these guys doing for... Kind of okay so far. The Confederate skirmishers have to be doing at least as bad, if not worse, than William's skirms. But it's, you know, he's just about. Let's pull these skirmishers back in before they break outright, which they might do anyway. Let's have Hamilton push some skirms up now to help out. I don't know if they'll actually come all the way up here. We'll see if they do. Hamilton's pickets are firing. I don't know exactly who they're firing at. Okay, we got some more rebel brigades coming up here in town. About 2 hours until McDowell enters the field. Of course, he'll have quite a bit of marching to do once he gets here. Let's get Williams to put skirms out again. Pickets have taken about 30 casualties. That's fairly high for a picket skirmisher detachment. Looks like Hamilton's almost done with his breastworks. Sanford's 2 brigades making progress. Not really sure why Williams pickets aren't firing. Maybe the line of sight's blocked. Let's see if they'll do this without getting in too much trouble. I don't want them to block the side of the line of sight of the artillery. There we go. Okay, those pickets are driven off. So let's get these guys back up in fence cover. And before these guys start taking flanking fire from these pickets, kind of back them up to about here. Kind of reorient these pickets facing. About even casualties on both sides. Get Bernie to put out some skirmishers over here. He might be able to fire right from his default position. Yep. Some of his guys are getting blocked by the edge of these skirms, though. Move them a little bit over, about like that. Hamilton's pickets doing fine for resilience. Thomas's are getting a little toasty. They're also getting low on ammo, so I'm going to go ahead and pull those pickets back. Okay, Hamilton's brigade now in Breastwork cover. I think Bernie's brigade will be soon as well. And as soon as these guys are folded in, reload ammo, come back out with a fresh set of pickets. Send these guys right back to their fence position. I thought Bernie was done, but he's just finishing this last little bit here. I'm going to tell Doubleday to stop firing for now. Well, just save ammo until... Right now he's basically kind of wasting ammo firing at skirmishers. Okay, that should make him stop firing. Hamilton's skirm still they're getting a little low on ammunition. Thomas has pickets back in action. I don't think I thought I told these guys to move. It doesn't look like they did. Hamilton skirm is back in for ammo. Bernie's in cover, but there's this weird little overlap here. I think some of these soldiers are going to have line of sight problems, so I'm just going to pull them back. Okay, that looks better. Let's see if he'll assume that spot. Williams' guy is doing okay. Thomas's guy is doing okay. Butterfield's pickets firing. I think these guys, they may have a weird little terrain I don't know, they don't seem to be firing as much as they ought to. Okay, the rebel line is pretty clearly forming along here. Almost tempted to pull Kime out of these entrenchments and march him across over here. Almost, not quite. Just tweak the facing of these skirms just a little bit. Armies can send them back out. No. Who was that? Oh, that was Hamilton's. Pickets. We're holding up pretty good. Again, that's difficulty settings. We're on very hard. I presume that's what's going on there. I feel like there's a little dead spot in the terrain right here that's preventing some of these skirmishers from getting a shot. Slowly getting a little bitty casualty ratio advantage just with this skirmisher fighting. I don't understand why we're not getting the flanking modifier on this guy, though. I mean, he's getting shots from over here right into his flank. So why am I not getting the yellow flanking modifier? I mean, geometry is geometry, regardless of difficulty level, right? But I guess it works in the other direction. Alphaeus ought to be getting flanked, but apparently not so much. A little less than an hour until McDowell's troops are scheduled to arrive. Resilience and all our pickets is looking okay. Williams starting to get a little bit low on ammo. So was Bernie. Yeah, dead spot in the terrain. Notice how, I mean, these are rifle-armed pickets, and look how short that firing cone is, even on long range. So that's terrain. Somehow he's showing us firing, but he's not actually. There may be like one guy who's got a shot or something. Let's see if I can get him to move. Pickets don't like to move when they're shooting. They're pretty unresponsive. Even if it's just one or two guys who actually are engaging. I think I saw a message float up. Is that, yep, McDowell is now arriving on the field. Right where it said he would, down here. Okay. There's only one infantry division that is actually on the field. Tyler's. Let's go ahead and tell him to come on up to get him to form up right around in here, I think. So I'm just going to tell Tyler to get to here. Yeah. So here's Barlow in command of a brigade in Hunter's division. Hancock is in command of the 4th Division over here. And Gibbon, who was actually an artillery guy pre-war, he's got a battalion in the artillery division. Okay, Hunter has entered. Tell him to come here. I think this is about where I told the other division to come. Looks like the Confederate assault is kind of beginning. And Heinzelman. Still okay. Still okay. Butterfield skirms need to change their facing. He's about to get driven in regardless. Somebody's low on ammo. Bernie's. Well, I said I didn't. Okay, come on back in. I don't know why the heck Bernie's on short range. Should be on long. Why are these guys all on short range? I had placed them all in long range earlier during the pre-deployment. Okay, those skirms broke. Alright, let's get this battery firing again. Momentarily, he's got that little routed unit nearby because of the skirmisher. I think that'll clear it pretty quick, though. Okay, yeah. Nothing's going to happen down here. Have these guys all pull their skirms in. And let's reorient them like so. Rotate Bernie just a little bit so that he fires upon this brigade when it comes into range. He's also got shots here too. Okay, looks like it's time for those skirms to come in. One is already broken. Right. Those guys coming down the road and with nice even spacing. And let's get the artillery moving. Something like this. And Hancock's division. Something about like that. And then McDowell himself. Okay, Kimes guys are moving to their position. Okay, we have a wavering brigade here. 8th Brigade under Theophilus Holmes. Who else we got here? Pickett and Wofford. Wofford's taking some casualties. Pickett not too many yet. Okay, Butterfield is taking some casualties. No one's firing on Bernie yet. Kind of losing the musketry sounds there. That's odd. I've never experienced that before. Wofford wavering. Let's change the facing back. Well, we got a little bit of a disconnect there with our sound effects, but they're banging away. All right. So Wofford's completely broken. Holmes isn't too happy. Pickett's kind of getting left isolated up here in front. We'll just leave Kime alone for a moment, see how this develops. This flank attack over here is kind of dissipating. And now they're concentrating in the middle. Doubleday banging away at just skirmishers again. He is taking some counter battery fire from these fellows over here. I want him firing on these larger brigades. I am going to tell him to bombard this area. Okay, Butterfield's resilience is getting a little problematic. He's taken almost 500 casualties. But I think pretty soon it's going to be quieter over here. Bernie, meanwhile, has not lost a man and delivering good fire on these rebels over here. Okay, and now the center is going to see some action. Who is that? As Bonham makes a frontal attack on entrenchments. More power to you. Hamilton is just in range. He's firing. Same with Williams. So we have 3 brigades firing in here. And I am going to shift the arty back to fire at will. I want him focusing right here on this attack coming in. Not quite in canister range. He hasn't taken any more losses from the counter battery. That's good. Pickett has fallen back some. Over here. McDowell's guy is starting to kind of get in position. I don't know if there's going to be that much fighting for them to do, really. Okay, things have quieted down, so Butterfield's okay. Let's reorient Bernie's facing. Hamilton and Thomas are now getting the brunt of the rebel attention. One rebel brigade wavering and falling back. Okay, 1600 to 900. Confederate morale has gotten pretty low, down to 37. Oh, they're actually going to start retreating pretty soon. Let's generally move McDowell's guys up to this line. I want them astride these roads right here. Hunter's division out in here. Heinzelman. Let's get Hancock over about like this. Where's the Artie? Smith's artillery. This looks elevated. Okay. Alright, they're pretty much in full retreat, straight toward McDowell's army. Okay, I want to keep these guys in range, still firing at these guys if I can. Let's get Birney and Butterfield going after this brigade here. This early in the war, no one's got cavalry yet. At least not in these armies. Yeah, Keim really didn't engage there. I don't see any way that they can really catch up, but we'll tell them to come over this way. Oh, look at this. This rebel battalion is like, oh, there's more Billy Yanks over this way. Okay, Keys, go shoot this guy. Keys Brigade has Hall rifles, fast firing. So does this other brigade back here. Actually, all the brigades in this division. So they have red coats. For fast firing, for infantry brigades. I don't do this with cavalry, but if they've got breach or repeater loading fast rate of fire rifles, I have started giving those guys red coats. And for longer range weapons like Mississippi rifle and things like that, I give those infantry brigades green coats. Just helps them stand out a little bit better on the tactical map. Come Keep wrecking this arty. Okay, they're broken. All right, so they're going down this route here. Are we even close to a major? Not super close, but I think we're within reach. Yeah, I don't think any of Patterson's guys are going to catch anybody over here. Apparently we don't even have sight on... Well, they lost sight and they stopped moving because they just had a fire order, not a movement order. This division just has the Springfield muskets, not rifles. These guys, where's this guy going? Oh, he's part of this division over here. Okay, these guys just got their order to move closer. Hopefully we can catch, I think that's Pickett here. Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to catch these guys. Might catch Pickett, though. Pickett's in a little bit of the pickle there. Try to run these guys over quick enough to catch this brigade here. Well, you gonna charge or not? Kind of hoping they capture more prisoners in the melee. Right. Okay, guys, get in here and let's get all these Hall rifles firing on this brigade if we can. Cohesion is failing. But I bet Greg's cohesion isn't all that hot either. Oh, dudes. Long range. You're killing me. %, almost there. Ah! So close. Okay, well it was a pretty good victory regardless. Okay, so we lost about 1,300 men, lost one gun. Obviously didn't lose any cavalry because there was none to lose. And Beauregard lost about half of his artillery and 3,800 infantry. And so what this will do is there's an objective to win a battle in Confederate territory, which this was. So check. And there is an objective to win a major victory, which I think in that context refers to the size of the battle, not to the outcome. We'll have to double check. I don't know if this will count for that or not. It maybe does have to be a major victory. So we'll see. But at very least, we got the win on Confederate territory. It should give us a national morale boost, I think. Somehow, the artillery guy in McDowell's army comes out of that as the hero of the battle. Really? All his guys did was march, and they may have shot like a routing unit at the end once or twice. Okay, so somehow General Ord is a national hero. And Taylor, I think, is one of their guys. So let's take a look here. Well, apparently I didn't get squat for that. Win in CSA territory, no. Win a, not a major victory, win a major battle. To count as a major battle, each side must commit at least 10,000 troops, and casualties in total must exceed 2,000. Well, I think we met that. I think it just needs a second for time to run. Yeah. I think that's the win in Confederate territory headline. And major Union victory. Okay. So, when in CSA territory, Union national morale will cease to decrease, and CSA support will cease to increase. Until you get this first victory in Confederate territory, the Union national morale just naturally drops on its own, even if nothing is happening. And CSA support increases until that occurs. So that's why it's pretty important to, in addition to the volunteer situation, the contract situation I talked about earlier, it's important to get a win quick on the red side right at the beginning of the campaign when playing as Union. And we did pick up our 5 consecutive naval battles already. So, national morale about the same on both sides now. They still have higher support and a little bit higher morale in the armies, but both sides are okay on army morale. We've got more men, of course we do. Same on military experience, and casualty self-explanatory, just that one battle. And our blockade is starting to take effect. Trade warfare. Right. I think that will do for this episode. And when we come back, it'll should be about halfway to getting our wrong tab. How are we doing on our act here? Still almost a month away. All right. In any case, thank you very much for watching.